Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Wimbledon wrap-up show, a bonus episode of Tennis Weekly following our Wimbledon daily coverage. If you haven't had the chance to do so already or would like to relive all of the action from the championships, then do make sure to check out our daily episodes across the fortnight. But today, we are wrapping up our own experiences of the championship. So in this episode, we're going to be covering our high moments, low moments, surprising moments of the tournament with our patented Peak Pit Pleasant Surprise scorecard, as well as giving our overall reflections. And we do have some Tennis Weekly awards to dish out. We also have our Babolat Pure Light Wimbledon Bag competition winner to announce. We'll be announcing that towards the end. But guys, I'm looking forward to this episode because there could genuinely be so much we could all talk about, I think.
I mean, we've done so much. We've all been at Wimbledon. I think we've done this where we haven't been at the Slams before, and we still have a great time. So the bar is high for this one. And I mean, we talked about, we've done, I think, 14 days, but it all started, the Friday before. We had the Cam Norrie event. We did Media Day. We did a bonus podcast. We did a podcast with Christy as well. I mean, it's been probably our most bumper Grand Slam ever, Joel.
Yeah, it's been busy, hasn't it? And actually, let's think maybe 3 words to define
Can we have 5, Kim? I might need more.
No, I think a word a week. It's been basically like a 3-week event, like you said. So I think, let's just top it off with 3. I know Joel's 3 words that Roland Garros left a lot to be desired, but
He's on a warning.
I'm going to let
find out
you two go first then to give me some inspiration.
Okay. Shall I kick us off?
Yes.
Okay.
You have something.
Start us off, Kim.
Sunny.
I was going to say sunny.
Oh,
I wouldn't.
Strawberry.
I don't even think sunny goes far enough.
Well, it was sunny, and I'm going to say
Scorching.
strawberry as well for the Christie range. And then this might sound smug, but I'm going to say predictable because I got the winners correct.
You could have just say smug instead.
Yeah.
God.
Okay, who's next, Chris?
Well, all I can think about is towels now, but that can't be one of my words. I was going to say
theft.
I'll say bliss.
Sorry.
I think it's been, rather than say sun, I think it's been sort of blissful Wimbledon weather. So bliss. Roller coaster. Oh, bliss, curfew, and roller coasters.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
I think I said, did I say roller coaster last time? And you're like, is it 1 or 2 words? I'm predictable, Kim, as well as you predicting Wimbledon.
Every slam is a roller coaster. Life is a roller coaster. As
In
Ronan
the words
Keating
of
once
Ronan
said.
Keating. Oh, God.
Fair enough.
On that note, Joel, over to you.
You've had longer to prepare.
I know, and it's still not going to come out great. I think I'm going to say
Grass.
Sunburn, unpredictable, tasty.
Oh, I like tasty.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Very good. Okay.
We'll come on to why I've said tasty, but I have genuinely enjoyed a lot of the catering and food options.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not tasty tennis, then.
I thought tasty
Actually
matches.
talking about food.
I was thinking food, but the tennis
Right.
has been also equally tasty and delicious.
I'm going to go
So
blissful,
Joel just goes to
though.
Wimbledon for the food. Okay.
He does. Well,
There
we
we
already
go.
knew that, Kim.
And out of 10, how many marks are we giving the tournament
Oh.
in terms of the action we've seen
It's
on
got to
court,
be
as well
up-
as
for me,
as
it's
well as
up there.
everything else?
Like I think nine out of 10. I think the weather helps. I think
Yeah.
I remember growing up as a fan, even without the roofs and rain, it felt like it really hindered the momentum of the tournament. So for me, yeah, I'd give it a 9 out of 10 just because we've just had a fantastic 2 weeks with sort of no weather hiccups.
That's
Yeah,
true. I think we do
exactly.
take it for granted when it's warm. I think we're like, it's too warm now, but actually, it's very nice to get the matches done. Well, minus the curfew. I was also remembering this tournament started with Serena Williams. I should say like drama or something should have been one of my words looking back instead of roller coaster. But I think it kind of covers it all. I'd say the on-court activities have been a 9. But I think some of the other things that have been happening, around Wimbledon, the doubles, Serena, all the chaos, maybe I'll give it a 7.5.
So on average, maybe 8.25.
If you're being specific,
good maths,
Kim,
Kim.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go 8.5 because I think Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there's not an awful lot I can criticize. A couple of things, a couple of peeves, which we'll get onto later. But yeah, I think it's been a high caliber Wimbledon, definitely helped by the weather. Um, Gone are the days of, well, I mean, Rafa and Soddling coming back day after day after day. But yeah, innovation has happened. We have a roof and
We got
we
two
have lovely
roofs.
weather.
Yeah.
Two roofs, exactly. Well, let's have a look at how we did in our predictions next, because I mean, obviously, I was the only one to get Sinner winning.
Right.
Shelton and Menchik didn't do particularly well, and they were both of your picks.
Well, I think Mensick did go further than Shelton, I believe.
Yes. Joel's pick went out in
that
round
hard
one.
to do.
I'm clutching at straws here.
We all had a Sinner Djokovic semi, so big tick for us.
Oh,
for that
Draper
one.
in the semi-final didn't even play. That's
not great.
Oh.
And Cerundolo as well. Cerundolo went out really, really early.
First round to Jaume Munar.
I guess. I mean, argument to say that me and Chris putting Kaboli in, perhaps, maybe.
Yeah, decent.
But he did have a good run last year, so maybe not.
And you both said Casper Ruud would be like the first top 10 seed to fall, so that was very spot on.
What about
And
your
Chris-
sort of predictions that were more bold, Kim? Was there anything in particular that you...
Well, I did say Arthur Fery would go 5 with Shelton and almost beat him. In the end, they never played, but Fery beat Vertinen, who beat Shelton. So I kind of mentioned Arthur Fery as a bold one.
You didn't have him as
But
your
you
one
also
to watch.
mentioned Max Basing, Kim.
Yes,
You did,
that
and
is
Ollie
true.
Tarver
I feel
was
like
your
you had
one to
like this-
watch.
Your obsession wasn't Arthur Fery; it was more Max Basing.
He was one of the only Brits you didn't watch his first round. Is that correct?
Max Basing only won 3 games in his opener.
I
And I
don't know.
put Max Basing round 3.
I don't know who
question
he
mark.
is, Kim. I actually genuinely don't know who that is.
Well, probably won't ever hear from him again. And our women's predictions, obviously I got the champion correct.
Yeah.
Go me.
You definitely
There's
trumped us
not
here, I
much
think.
green on these
Yeah.
predictions.
No, you had Sabalenka Joel and you had JPEG, Chris. But you had Osaka in the quarters, Chris. Well done. Joel had Mukova and I had Goff. Other than that, we got them all wrong, basically.
Wait, so none of Joel or I got a single semi-finalist correct?
Yep.
That
is
has to be our
correct.
worst performance on record.
And I thought I went safe. Sabalenka, JPEG, Swiatek, Rybakina.
That is quite shocking. I
It's
guess it's
Wimbledon.
been more upsets than we thought, actually, when you look at it, despite the fact there've been some big names who have made
I
it
mean,
deep.
I don't know what I was in hindsight. Don't know what I was thinking Rybakina was going to get to the final.
That one, I do think was poor, I have to be honest, But then Svitolina went out in round 1 and I had her going to the final, Joel. So,
Okay.
yeah, none of us
We
have done
did-
particularly well.
We did have Andreeva being like one of the earliest seeds to fall, and she did lose round 2, but to Krejcikova, so not particularly, not massive
Oh,
surprise.
God, I said Goff was going to go out early.
I mean, that's not a bad shout though, because she has recently, but obviously this year her best ever Wimbledon, a point away from the final. So yes, well, we have got our Wimbledon awards to dish out. So let's move on to those. We've got best match, biggest upset, most room for improvement, biggest surprise, one to watch, and pet peeve. So we're kind of broadly doing this for the men's and women's events. And just to clarify, one to watch is kind of like after the tournament, like who are we watching? But broadly, I think in the past we've had a few differences of like interpretation for some of these awards. But
Yes, there's some
generally-
crossover.
yeah, it's a bit of crossover. So more or less we get them right. But okay, let's start with best match of the tournament. Who wants to go first and kick us off?
I think Joel's got to go first because I think he was
Okay.
on court for the entirety of that match.
Yeah, there were 2 matches on the men's side I was on court for that were fantastic. Novak Djokovic, Felix Auger-Aliassime. I feel like there's no dramas with that pick. A fantastic match from start to finish. I didn't realize Felix Auger-Aliassime had that in him. I didn't realize Novak Djokovic still had that longevity in him. So that was a true spectacle to watch. And then Dimitrov Fery also for the drama of Fery winning that in 5 sets. I remember we were chatting on WhatsApp, getting ready to record or thinking about what time we were going to record, but Fery had other ideas. So yeah, for me on the men's side, and then I'm gonna say Mukova Goff. Actually, I was tempted to say the women's final, but I'm gonna go Mukova Goff as my favorite women's match.
I think that'd be very popular, universal picks, those ones. But Chris, have you got anything different?
Well, I mean, Mukova Goff will stand out for me. That was probably one of the most fun matches
Mm.
I've ever watched. It was
You
so
said you had
exciting.
goosebumps
I
watching
did.
it.
I honestly took a picture of them. I wasn't even cold. It was boiling hot. I've never had goosebumps that sort of temperature before. But no, I thought that was an edge of your seat stuff. So
Mm.
that's right
More
up
more
there.
than Sabalenka Osaka?
I really thought that was a wonderful performance, but it didn't have like the drama of
Okay.
genuinely, I was in the media seats, we were chatting to each other, some different people in there, saying no one could pick it. Not one person could pick what would happen in that final set. It was so back and forth. So I live for that drama. And having said Coco Gauff was going to go out the earliest, my other top match is actually Goff Bencic because the curfew came in, the race
Mm.
against the clock, and that was a different type of drama. So I'm not saying I'm a fan of the curfew, but I was a fan of the way that Goff came through that and kind of pointed to the watch and said, just 2 minutes left. I thought that was box office.
Yeah, nice. I mean, I agree with all of those. I had Novak and FAA sort of on my list. I had also Ferry against Zizou Bergs, his comeback, because he was like down multiple breaks in the fourth and fifth set. And I think that was the match that really he should have lost,
Mm.
but he didn't. And then he made it all the way to the semi-final. So I think that was quite
Had all those
pivotal. So
nosebleeds, Kim.
yeah, and then he had to go and have a treatment after to get them like cauterized or some such. But
Gosh, I
yeah,
mean,
very drama, yeah, on court 18. So that was a bold one. But I also had the women's final just because it was so many like momentum shifts
Hmm.
and Noskova managing to regroup. I thought that was incredible. So I think it was clearly a significantly more competitive final overall in the end than last year. But I obviously, as we know, I put that as my best match last year
you
anyway
did,
for the
Kim.
history books. So yeah, I obviously have different categorizations of what I consider best match. But yeah, I think it was a decent encounter. But yeah, okay. Moving on from that, biggest upset. Oh, who wants to go first?
Go on,
Chris, I'll come to
Joel.
you first.
You
Oh
go
no,
first.
okay, you got it up your sleeve, Chris. Let's come to Joel.
Okay, I am going to go for Maya Joint defeating Serena Williams. I know Maya Joint had a not great record coming in to Wimbledon, and we all thought that this was like the perfect match for Serena Williams. But even having said that, that sort of expectation, the way Maya Joint played and delivered against this sort of overwhelming feeling that this was Serena Williams is to lose. We were sort of half expecting it to be Williams, I think Eala in the next round. Maya Joint had other ideas, and yeah, therefore for me, that's why she gets the title of biggest upset. So I'm going to go Maya Joint's victory in the singles and quashing the Serena Williams singles comeback at Wimbledon.
Mm.
I suppose some people might say that wasn't an upset because
I
of
was going
some
to say
people.
exactly that, actually,
Just to
Kim.
play devil's advocate.
I was going to say a
There's a
much
debate.
bigger
There is a
upset.
debate there. I
A
agree.
much bigger upset would be after, the the top tennis player Maya Joint who'd taken out Serena, then got bageled by Ayala. I think that's got to be a bigger upset, having won that match against Serena. But no, I'm joking. It's not that one. I actually think that Ayala versus Swiatek, I think that was a big upset. I think that
Mm.
was one where you're on the ground and it's kind of sending shock waves around. Like, is it on? This could be happening, especially
Yeah.
because there's so much hype around Yala. So I thought that was great. I thought that was really really exciting. I think there was a will she won't she can she
Yeah.
do it
I
and defending
Chris,
champion.
if we actually had an award for like best first set of tennis, I would have given that
Are we
easily
adding it to
to.
the awards?
Well, I was like
Well,
half
Zverev
gonna
might
put
win
it
it
in the best
actually.
match,
Yeah.
but I would have put Ayala Swiatek as first set as yeah my favorite set of tennis I watched this
We
championships.
could do best straight sets match. That could also be a thing in the future, maybe. It doesn't have to be long to be good.
No, that's quite true. I mean, I had Svitolina losing first round to Darius Snigger just because Svitolina is
Mm,
normally so
yeah.
consistent at slams. That one just kind of came out of nowhere for me. And I'd put Shelton losing to Verstappen round one. It was a last set tie break, so it was close. But Shelton had come in with like really good grass court form. Obviously, like we had high hopes for him.
Kim, he
And
wilted under the pressure of my prediction.
yeah, I think he obviously tuned into our predictions episode and thought, oh gosh.
You know,
So yeah, but then equally, he's not necessarily proven himself yet. So is it a massive upset to a player who
I
has
think it's
been
a bigger
higher
upset than my
than
joint over
the
Serena Williams, Joel, if I'm honest. You know,
Mm.
Svitolina out round one, Shelton out round one. I think she's punching with those ones.
Yes. Okay, what about most room for improvement? Maybe it's our award giving, but
Yeah, maybe it's
like
alignment.
Joel, over to you.
So for most room for improvement, I've got a few kind of jokey ones here. First of all, I've got to say, I don't know if you guys saw it on the TV during the final, but Zverev went on his phone to check his insulin readings, and the camera accidentally caught him putting his passcode into his phone,
Oh
and his
no.
passcode was 1111, and
It's a bit basic.
I was thinking his password games needs to be up to there.
I'm
Goodness.
surprised he wouldn't have the fingerprint
Yeah, everyone has the
enabled.
fingerprint these days.
I know. So I was going to say that. I also think net cord technology, the fact that like we're still kind of waiting on umpires, hoping to hear them, hear a sound. I think that could be better. Came up in the Arthur Fery versus Zverev match in the semi-finals. And finally, I'll just say, in terms of players, the next gen on grass, they had a great tournament at Roland Garros. With Hodar, Fonseca, Menchik, but no one really did anything of note at Wimbledon. So yeah, a lot more to be done there for the next gen.
Yeah, agreed. Shall I go next, Chris, on this
Go
one?
on, Kim.
Yeah. I had Djokovic's fashion because that blazer should never have been seen with those shorts.
Mm.
Oh,
I think
great. Yes.
I
Lacoste
forgot
need
that
to
happened. Yeah.
Lacoste need to invent some walk-on stripper trousers for
They
Djokovic for
do. I mean,
next year.
listeners, we had to redo a clip because Kim felt so strongly about Novak Djokovic's attire because, I mean, you really wanted trousers for Novak
It was
Djokovic in
so
that moment.
schoolboy though, his outfit. It gave Slytherin vibes for me.
Yeah, you're more of a Gryffindor, are you, Kim?
Yeah.
Reminded me
Oh
of the,
yeah.
the guitarist in AC/DC. Doesn't he have like school uniform with shorts on?
He plays the
That is
Djokovic
the
plays
most
the
random
violin at the end,
comparison.
so maybe he could join.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got weird visions now. I also think Casper Ruud on grass needs improvement, but he's got to have
Kim,
the
we could say
motivation and the
this every year,
will.
Kim.
Yeah, does he
That's
want
just
to
a
improve is the question.
standing
Sorry, is this
award.
most room for improvement on tennis court or in golf?
Yeah. And then I put Alex Ayala to back up big wins because she then went and lost to Paulini after that Swiatek
Mm.
upset. But she's still young. There is time. So yeah, those are my penneth. What about you, Chris? What have you got?
Well, I've got a long list, obviously, but in terms of most room for improvement, my biggest disappointment of this tournament has to be JPEG, Jessica Pegula. Joel and I have talked about this quite a lot. We thought this was such a big opportunity for her, and I think,
Biggest.
yeah, I think she probably should have beaten Coco Gauff that day. I think Gauff is so good at winning three-set matches, but Pegula, her level did drop really significantly, and I think this was a really good opportunity. I'm not saying she would have won the title, but there was definitely an opportunity for her to go deep here, and she looked great coming into the tournament as well. So that's my most room for improvement, just because I think of those big moments, you've got to be ready to take them. I also think Roland Garros finalist Koboli, he did wilt against Arthur Fery. I think maybe if you talked about it being his bogeyman, having lost him at two slams this year, but I was expecting a little bit more from the finalist at the French Open. And then, I mean, you've got to put Sabalenka. Sabalenka has to be in there, the world number one. I think there's definitely room for improvement when it comes to how she's playing some of these big matches and how she's handling those situations. So that's my list. And then if I was being really naughty, I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash for this, but Serena Williams singles
Wow.
games,
No,
or
I mean that
Serena
is fair, I
Williams
think.
transparency in interviews specifically.
Well, here we go.
Mm,
Love that.
Mm,
I was just thinking with
okay.
Kaboli, he lost to Ferry in sickness and in health.
mm.
Oh, are they
Um,
getting married now? Has this
yeah,
gone down
yeah,
south? Yeah.
yeah. We'll go to that
No,
wedding next
yeah.
summer.
Oh dear. Right. Okay. What about biggest surprise? I mean, I'm talking about Arthur Fery. I have him as my biggest
Mm,
surprise. I mean, that would be hard not to. And I had Noskova regrouping to win after that
yeah.
second set. All those points gone
That
to
was
win.
incredible.
So I think those two, because I mean, I just, I wrote to you guys on the group like, oh, if this goes to three, Mukova's totally getting this, but I was wrong. So yeah, big surprise, but pleasant one there. Um, Chris, what about you? Come to you first.
Well, I've kind of answered for Joel here. I think Joel's biggest surprise was Kekmanovic being 26.
I love that. That
That's
goes down in
naughty, but
tennis
also very true.
weekly
Yeah,
history.
it's going to become one of those recurring
Let's be
things.
honest, listeners. We in the same
We'll
boat
put
as
a
me.
poll
I
out.
did not realize Kekmanovic was as young as he was.
He's a decade younger than some of us
Yeah.
here. So, I
Yeah.
mean, he's not a spring chicken, but he certainly is nowhere near where Joel thought he was in the Manarino
I thought he
bracket.
was like in his veteran era.
Yeah, he's doing the final sort of circuit before his farewell tour. But you definitely were surprised by that. I also had a biggest surprise. I gave Joe Conter a really big surprise when I almost knocked her over on the staircase going to the broadcast center. And then it was a horrible surprise that she pulled out of the invitational. So
Mm.
that got up there for me. But if I'm doing it seriously, my biggest surprise would probably be, and I think Coco Goff would agree, her run here, she was not expecting, and I wasn't expecting it either because I had her going out early. So it was a good surprise, and it's a pleasant surprise that she went so far.
Nice. Yep. No, she had a fantastic tournament, over exceeding her expectations. Joel, what about your surprise?
Well, starting the tournament, one of the big surprises for me was when I got the message through that Jack Draper was withdrawing from the tournament. That came out of nowhere. I think I was on court somewhere, and I just couldn't really believe when that came through.
That was mad after his press conference where he was so
Yeah,
jolly and positive. He was back. I was
Jack's back.
genuinely surprised by that.
Yeah. Perhaps even more surprising, if you had told me that Grigor Dimitrov was going to lose to Kirian Jacquet in the Dublin Challenger on the 15th of June in the quarterfinals, and he would have the run that he did at Wimbledon. That was a big surprise for me, as was also the run by Roman Safulin, because I think we were all expecting Djokovic Fonseca, particularly because Safulin had played lots and lots of tennis, lots and lots of five setters. And yeah, he came through qualifying and yeah, had a match, got all the way through to face Djokovic. So yeah, those were my outstanding surprises.
Okay, and then maybe partially moving on from that, one to watch.
Are we
I
allowed
mean, I
two to watch if it's one male and one female player,
yeah,
Kim? Do you think
why
that's
not?
okay? I
I
don't
think
know why I'm
that's
asking you. It's a
that's
general
fine.
consensus. You don't make these
Yeah,
rules.
I mean, I can't get out of Arthur Ferry. I think he for me is the one to watch after Wimbledon. So I'm not very imaginative there, but I'll have to come back to you on the women's player. I mean, there's so many, isn't there? But maybe on a British note, Katie Swan, because she's had this launch
Mm.
pad for the start of
Sorry,
her
Kim. Your
career
one to watch
reviving.
for the hard court swing is Katie Swan.
Well, no, I'm just meaning like
I'm
generally
not sure she's going to
afterwards,
be on the hard court swing. I mean that
No,
with love. I
no,
think she might be staying quite near Roehampton probably.
but she's almost got the second attempt at her career now.
So
So I
or
feel
what she
like
does next.
sometimes,
Yes.
yeah,
Not
that's how I
immediate.
interpret
Yes.
this rather than who's going to
Very
win the
valid.
US Open.
She's on the
Yeah,
up.
yeah. What about you, Chris?
I feel like I'm being a bit harsh to other people now. It comes back to me, and I'm not sure what I'm going to say. But I think Osaka, for me, I think she was beaten by Mukova, who was playing probably peak Mukova. I think the best she played in the tournament was against Osaka, and I'm really interested to see what she can do because we talked about whether she can win the US Open last year. We think that's the slam where she got the best shot. So all eyes for me will be on Osaka, and I know this is a pretty. If Joel said this, I'd be rolling my eyes. But Zverev, I'm kind of fascinated by this new version of him that we've seen. It's not the nervous Zverev; it's actually the player that he probably was more similar to when he was younger, of just going for it. And I really was surprised by how much I enjoyed watching him play. So I'm going to be watching some of those matches in the hard court swing.
And we'll also be watching Osaka's outfit at the USA when she walks on. That'll be exciting. And Joel, what about yourself?
Well, I think one to watch for me is certainly Alexandra Eala. Given what she did at Wimbledon, it felt like a real breakout moment for her, particularly at Grand Slams. So I'll be watching out for her, particularly if she faces Swiatek early on in a draw. I think also I have to mention Taylor Fritz, not for the tennis, but for stealing bottles on the tennis court.
You got to watch him because he's a
You
thief.
got to watch him. Yeah, I think
You
he's
don't trust Taylor Fritz.
he's now a marked man.
Yeah. If he
On
comes
the
round to
tour.
your house, Joel, count the things that you have. Count the water bottles you have in your cupboard.
And
In what world is Taylor Fritz going around to Joel's house?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll talk about his predictions where he always says he's going to win.
And one other player I will mention, I will say Sorana Castella, because she had a match point against Linda Noskova. Has had a great season, and who knows what would have happened if Castella had pulled that victory out. But I don't know if she's still planning to retire at the end of the season. But I feel like she is still playing great tennis, even though she went out early here. She went out to the champion, so I think she should be also one to watch.
Yeah, really, in hindsight, her loss was not so bad. Okay, and finally, our pet peeve from the tournament. So this could be, well, anything really. I mean, I did mention in our finals pod how annoyed I found it that none of you seem to bring your own sun cream. Joel, you were always asking me for mine. Chris, you
Kim,
had to
you
borrow
have like
mine, then
factor
give it
50,
back.
factor 50 plus.
Yeah, because I don't want to burn.
There's no risk of that, Kim. That's for
I
sure.
know.
The amount of sun cream you put on as well.
Slathering away.
Yeah.
Well, I was around the grounds maybe more than you. I was roving,
Permanently looking for a Brit
in the sun. Yeah, looking for a Brit that could win. That was a challenge on day one. I can tell you, it didn't go well. I mean, I also think
are these
there was
personal
a story...
pet peeves, Kim? By the way, so
well,
all
no, I
of
was
these.
Gonna go,
okay,
I was gonna go more serious now. The queue was a lot busier this year. I didn't queue, but it was significantly like ridiculously busier than usual on like that Friday of the first week, the Saturday. And there was a lot actually in the press about the fact that there's a lot of like an increase in influencers, and the queue has become like this big sort of viral social media trend. People like are being told to go down there as one of the summer things to do. And there's a lot more, content about the queue, even from like mainstream media. And I do worry about the future of the queue because I think it's going to get out of hand and too busy for it to be like safely maintained. So that's kind of, I do feel like it's going to annoy genuine tennis fans because there's going to be a lot of people just kind of going to have a look and, cluttering up the place, which sounds harsh. It's not like people should be denied access to Wimbledon.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's also
a tricky thing for the organisation to have to deal with, I think.
And the influencers going down and bothering people in the queue. I felt like it was much more of a thing this year and very hard for people to get in, and it gets more and more extreme to the point where I think it actually is almost impossible to get without camping for 2 days to get the ticket that you want, which is not really what the queue is about.
Especially in this heat as well.
Like, dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think partly the heat encouraged people because I thought, oh, well, it's going to be a lovely weather.
Kim's in the queue again, having a
Rioja. It harder.
Yeah.
With my sun cream.
Oh, the temperature would put me off, actually, probably going into the queue. But yeah.
Tents get very hot. Okay, well, what about yourselves? Joel, what were your pet peeves? Pet peeve singular.
I just have a single pet peeve that I notice more this championships than any other championships, and it is the Roland Garros trumpet sound that has infiltrated centre court, number one court. I absolutely despise it. I want it banned. I don't want to hear it. Absolutely fine hearing it at Roland Garros, but I'm just like, this is not Philippe Chatrier. We do not need this sound. And I feel like a lot of the crowd don't want to hear it either, because you get the person do the pa 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 pa, and then there's sort of like a half-hearted. I'm like, oh, okay, almost like out of courtesy. So I just wish we just had less of that.
We need our own cheer.
Ideally,
then,
none of that.
Nothing. Replace it with nothing. Okay.
Yeah. And the
Just
Mexican wave,
silence.
basically get rid of the Mexican wave as well. Not about that either.
Not for you.
Hmm.
Well,
Oh,
okay. What about you,
he's a fun
Chris?
one, isn't he, Joel?
Yeah.
Ooh. Is it me
Sitting in
then?
stony silence. It is you, yeah.
That was your only
Go on.
one. Okay, right.
Go on.
Yes.
I have a pet peeve, and it's personal to you, Kim. I'm coming for you.
Oh
So
no.
my
What have
pet
I
peeve is
done?
that in our WhatsApp group, when we're out about on the grounds, Kim will send a picture of the most famous person in tennis, and she'll write the name underneath as though we don't know. So she'll send a picture from like centre court and she'll write Novak Djokovic underneath. And I'm like, we know. Like, I know I don't need this as an identifier, but I think that's more funny. It's not a real pet peeve, but I do think that's
It's
quite
a
amusing.
caption,
It's a
to
caption.
remember it
Okay.
by.
But I'm
Yeah.
like, does she think we don't know? That's what that's, I think that's
Well, from behind, players might
true. And they are
listen.
all wearing white. So I do think that's fair. But that's my silly one. My more serious one, centre court starting later. That is definitely a pet peeve that really did annoy me this year, and even court one. I think I don't like. I'm with Novak Djokovic. I don't like it being night sessions, a night tournament. I don't think it needs to happen, and we don't have a night session. And I think when you have a ticket for the day, I think it does encourage a lot of people to leave because it is just so extreme the length of the day that it can go on. So for me, that's definitely something that I'd like that to come forward.
What about the late starts to the finals?
I also really didn't like that. That I just don't like a Wimbledon final finishing at 8 p.m. I much prefer it finishing about 5. It feels much more respectable. You have your evening. It's a Sunday, Joel. I mean,
So would you put the
You've
double?
got
Would
work
you
tomorrow.
want to
got work
revert
tomorrow.
and put the doubles afterwards?
I would, yeah. I would put the doubles afterwards. I don't think that's necessarily a problem. I think it's great to have a packed crowd for the doubles given what's been happening at the tournament. But at
Hmm.
the same time, 4 p.m. is too late, I feel, for a final. I think it is. I think even if it isn't long, going to 9 p.m., it doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know. I was kind of confused when we started recording because I'm like, it's still light outside, but it's actually, 8 p.m. or something. It's much later. But what do you think?
I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
Bit
I
disorientated, I'm a bit.
yeah, it's hard to do sort of your meals. I had a roast chicken after the
I
first
don't.
set
I don't mind it.
I,
I
I,
don't
I
mind
still haven't
it.
had dinner, Kim.
because I thought, well, I need to have it before, before we
Yeah, it's in the middle of
yeah.
roast. Yeah, you could be having a Sunday roast for dinner.
I do actually. Sorry, I do have actually one more pet peeve, if I'm allowed one.
Of course.
And it is, why was Arthur Fery's match against Zizu Bergs put on court 18? I still don't really understand why and how that happened. I don't know if they put a request in, if
He
he put a
asked for
request
it.
in.
Well, he said he
in-
didn't
he
afterwards,
said afterwards
apparently.
Oh,
in his
okay.
press, or his team did. I'm so confused. I don't know, but
Well, I
regardless
think
of
they
what
chose
happened,
well.
Yeah.
regardless of what happened, I think that shouldn't have been on there. I think that
Mm.
was number one court job.
Actually, now we've got going in the pet peeve section, that does also make me think about the fact that the quality of ice cream at Wimbledon, Kim, we had a real
Yeah.
pet peeve. We want a Magnum,
We love
a hot sunny
magnums.
day. We'd love a Magnum. And what could we find? We found a plant-based pot.
I mean, that is a real first world problem. So,
It's a
but
peeve, though.
listeners,
A peeve does not have to
it
be
is still a
significant.
peeve. No, I suppose. I also had a yeah, anyway, I won't go into that. Listeners, do you agree or disagree
We could do a pet peeve podcast.
with our awards there? Some of you may just be like, no, not at all, or yes, we've got it right. So let us know on social media. We are now going to just do a final wrap up on our peak, pit, and pleasant surprise, which is kind of just a general for the whole tournament. So, highs, lows, sort of nice surprise moment. So, our peaks, the nice, happy, positive bit of the championships. I will kick us off. I've gone for like Linda Noskova winning. My prophecy came true. And I have also got Henry Patton winning the men's doubles. Nice one for the Brits. Hewitt and Reed winning the wheelchair doubles, of course. And I also, on a personal note, really enjoyed watching Ollie Tarvett again in round 1. He was very competitive against I've completely. Oh, who was he playing?
He was competitive. That's all that matters.
I was going to say Manarino, and I was like, no, it's not
French
right.
number
It's
one.
Rindenek, yeah. So that was mine.
That's good picks. I was going to say there was a moment where we almost had a funny run-in with Linda Noskova, wasn't there, Kim?
Yes. Do you want to?
Shall I tell the
We were
story?
taking a photo, and Chris asked us all to pose and say Noskova,
Hey,
and then literally
Noskova. And she
walked
walked past behind
like
me.
30
What, like a
seconds
spell,
later.
like in Harry Potter?
Well, it's more just like in a positive way. Like I wasn't chanting for the prophecy. It was more like say cheese, but say Noskova.
Noskova,
And she
just won her
literally walked
semi-final.
past like seconds later. So I'm hoping she
Oh,
didn't hear us because she think we
cringe.
were truly embarrassing. But
Yeah.
yeah, she was always close by, never far from you, Kim.
What's your peak though, Chris? I mean, apart from that moment.
Well, I mean, keeping my track record of 10 out of 10 semi-finals at Wimbledon for the women, I think being on court for that one, I thought I was the Cheshire Cat. I thought this is the perfect way for me to kind of have my last match on centre court. I think it was this year, or maybe the mixed doubles actually, but I thought that was a real peak. But you're like, this is Wimbledon tennis. The crowd is so
Yeah.
engaged. Everyone is loving it. And then kind of another side peak is I've been rewatching some of those clips, Kim, that we filmed in the room, and they are so funny. And I think at some point,
We need to do an outtake.
we do need to do outtakes. Everyone has said we
episode,
have to do outtakes from those rooms. So I think that was so funny when we'd stay in the same place, then we'd go in, we'd film in a small room together, and then we wouldn't speak all day, and then we'd film a podcast in separate rooms in the evening. And I just thought it was really fun, but it is quite funny. But
Odd,
the
yeah.
whole
Oh,
experience in that way is a bit of a peak.
absolutely. And Joel, what about yours?
Well, I had a peek which was in the press room with Aryna Sabalenka.
Was that a pit or a peak?
I think it was for me. It was a peak.
Okay.
Maybe a bit of a both because it was. I always think that player press conferences after defeats can be a lot more
So
interesting.
awkward.
They can be a lot more interesting than player interviews after victories, and just having that dialogue with her when I said commiserations on your defeat and she thought I said congratulations on your defeat. It did have me sweating, but it was a peak moment because it was a brave, punchy question, and we got an interesting answer.
Yeah,
so
it went viral. It was it went everywhere. You found out.
You supplied the question, and then I delivered it. So it was a team. It was definitely a team. It was a team job.
Well, depends on how she answered it because it was really quite punchy. I think some people were a bit. It wasn't her peak, Joel. I don't think answering that question.
Think so.
No.
I've also got a slightly naughty one as well.
Okay.
Actually, peak moment. I'm just going to say it now. Some people might be offended by this, but some might not. Some might be cheering with me. Andrew Castle and John Lloyd's final Wimbledon in the commentary booth.
Come in hot here.
John Lloyd announced it today. Andrew Castle, I think, was before the tournament. They've done incredible service to Wimbledon, and I've enjoyed their commentary over the years. But there is a time to move on, and yes.
Get some
Okay.
fresh blood in.
Wait, so your peak is that they're off?
Well,
hasn't John Lloyd been on the podcast?
It's pretty punchy.
Maybe your peak is the changes and the new
changing
changes
of
at the
the
order.
guard.
Changing of the guard. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, what about our pits? So our lowest moments.
The contract being renewed for Andrew Castle. If that happens, Joel.
Yeah, spoiler. It's actually they've reneged on getting rid of him.
Oh my god.
I mean, I went for something a bit more tennis related. Well, the actual action. I had predicted that Badosa would take out Navarro in round one, and she was serving for it. And I very smugly said to you, "Oh look, Badosa's going to get the win," and then she lost after serving for it, which was annoying, quite frankly. But because clearly she has form, because she's just gone and won Bostar, the Nordea Open in the WTA 125.
She has before I get there. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
So you're thinking that actually you're justified in that prediction that you made now.
Almost.
I feel like you've got enough predictions right.
I feel like I need to add. I totally understand where you're coming from, because I also remember I had that prediction that Montgomery was going to beat Paolini in round one, and Paolini got bageled in that first set.
Yeah.
And I was like, I also was going to be like, I can't wait to smugly announce this on the Tennis
that's
Weekly
what Kim
WhatsApp group.
Kim was just celebrating too early, I think, is what happened here. Because you were like, great prediction, Joel. I'm like, Paolini just won.
Yeah, she put the mockers on it.
I
Yeah,
know.
she
I
did.
went over to watch that, and then
Mm,
Montgomery sort of faded.
yeah.
So,
Well, that leads me
sorry,
to my
Joel.
pit though, because and I feel like a lot of these are Kim related, but surely a pit has to be that every Brit you watched lost, Kim, that you were sort of the
Yeah,
grim reaper of British tennis. You know, you're the Davis Cup captain from hell in many ways, I think. The
I
fact that
did sit near Leon Smith quite a few times, and clearly I
and
didn't give
clearly we're not,
his
yeah,
hopes
not
any luck.
helping the
Yeah.
situation, but I guess that's just a silly one. But strawberry beer is my pit.
Oh yeah. I
I
think that could be
Mm.
all of our pits.
Well, Kim said she would drink the whole
Oh,
thing.
actually, yeah, you're right. Hang on. Yeah, hang
But
on, Kim. Why wasn't that a peak?
that's just because I don't like normal beer. So I could that's the only beer
How
I
could
could
you
drink
like
because it just
this?
tasted like strawberry
It
cider.
was very funky. I mean, Stella Artois, please sponsor the podcast in the future, and please everybody drink
We love
responsibly.
Stella.
But do not drink strawberry beer. Go for the OG because I very strange strawberries and cream situation in a drink. I think it's a fun gimmick, but I think sometimes these gimmicks go too far. And paying a premium for it, Joel. I mean, my blood was boiling at that. You know, it was
Yeah.
really not for me.
Joel, what about your pit?
Well, I'm just going to say it because I know us Brits, we love to complain when it's too cold and we love to complain when it's too hot. And I'm going to complain because it was too hot this championships.
Was it?
It was just for me anyway. I
Better
was
than your flat though, Joel.
it was it
The AC unit, you've barely talked
yes,
about it this
better,
Wimbledon. Give us an
better.
update. Is it
The
working?
AC unit is working and is it on? And it was a sweet relief, I think, from coming home after a day at the
Hmm.
championships. Um,
Maybe you could bring it into the office next
maybe
year for us. Your
maybe I'll
AC
go
unit from home.
maybe I'll go a little bit more specific and say specifically the shaded coverage on court two. I think that could be a lot better, or somehow that feels to me like the most exposed court to like the sun. So yeah, but yeah, a bit too hot for me this this championships.
Yeah, some of the outside courts are quite
See,
brutal.
I thought you
Yeah,
were going
that
to
is
say something else, Joel. I thought you were going to say when I stole your laptop.
Oh, the MacBook swaps. Yes, listeners, me and Chris have MacBooks, but we haven't. I labeled them in a way that makes it clear whose is whose. And one time, I actually took Chris's MacBook
I think I
onto
stole
centre
yours
court.
first. I
Oh,
think
did you?
I
That was
did a
it.
Taylor
Yes.
Fritz. I took it. And then I saw Joel
You're the
come.
Mac. Are you the MacBook thief?
I am the MacBook thief.
But did either of you have a password that was 1111 so you could,
No, but clearly we weren't doing much work.
log
It took us
in?
a long time to realize. But Joel
Yes.
looked on his app of Find My like
Oh,
MacBook, and it was on centre
that was
court.
it. Yes, that was funny. Yes,
The
I used
thief has taken
Find
it to
My
centre
iPhone
court.
app,
Having a
and
lovely day out.
it genuinely, listeners, it was like the
Oh,
dot was in the middle of centre court, like the
it wanted
actual
to watch
court.
the tennis.
Yeah, it was
Maybe it was
me.
They
going to
stopped
be
playing.
it was
Why
going to
is
be
there
in
a
Taylor
laptop
Fritz's
in the
bag.
court?
Yeah, he'd taken it. He was playing that time.
Okay, what about lastly our pleasant surprise moment? I mean, I think we've kind of covered mine. No rain delays, and I love the strawberry towel range from Christie, which I think has proved very, very popular. I love the
Yeah.
color combo, so I'm going to say that, and I have been using mine today, and it's good. I'm enjoying it. It's making my bath time more, more fun.
Yeah, I don't want to know what goes on in there, Kim.
What about your surprise,
Someone
Chris?
say something. Okay. Um, my surprise. My surprise is that I went into the clubhouse this year. You were quite surprised by this as well. I suddenly just told you I had a meeting in the All England club to talk about how we could
Very
improve
serious.
things. A serious meeting
Mhm.
about, podcasting and recording and all this sort of stuff. And it was an early meeting, and I went there and had to, raise issues, and I was having Wimbledon crockery, and it was a pleasant surprise. 'Cause I wasn't expecting to get so close to the trophy. I didn't think they'd let me so close to it on my way in. So I thought that was quite fun. And I think it's quite fun when you have those little moments or little small places that you didn't think you'd be in centre court, or new discoveries each year, or new experiences. And then the other pleasant surprise is something that I have to bring up that Kim said to me is Toby Samuel flexible ankles, because I was pleasantly surprised by how flexible his ankles were, Kim.
Yeah, I was sat next to him while we were watching Oh,
A Brit.
one of the other Brits that lost.
Max
Felix
Spacey.
Gill.
Oh, Felix Gill,
Yeah.
Kim.
Where are you finding them?
And I noticed Toby Samuel's like I thought this chap has really flexible calves and ankles,
Yeah.
and mine are very inflexible. I have a lot of issues, so that's why I look at people's calves.
Yeah, and
Kim,
then
this is why the podcast exists, so you can watch Felix Gill on like Court to
and comment
Oblivion.
on Toby Samuel's ankles. But then I was pleasantly surprised because you pointed this out to me, Kim, and I thought they are very flexible when he beat lost to Mensik.
Yeah, we went to then watch Samuel the next day, and I thought, oh, that was Toby Samuel because I recognised his ankles.
Yeah, it was him.
So yeah. Oh dear, I forgot.
Go on,
about
Joel.
that.
Bring
Right,
us back
yeah.
to normality.
Reality. Yeah.
I am going to say on the subject of drinks, I was pleasantly surprised by the centre court cooler.
Oh, you loved that.
Yeah, I did.
That's
really...
not an AC unit then.
I don't know. It wasn't.
That's what he needs.
It was a very refreshing. What is in a centre court cooler again? I can't even remember.
Gin,
a lot of
cucumber, an elderflower like tonic, I think, and then mint.
Hugo-y.
Very Hugo adjacent. But Joel, we did do this taste test for these, and we were trying to see like, oh, who's going to have what drink. There were 3 drinks. We'd all get one each. Neither of us could prize the centre court cooler out of Joel's hands.
No.
He loved it. He wanted a picture of it, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. I think that's. We the honeydew and all the different spritzers, and everyone needs to have their own drink. I feel like with the slams, and yeah, this definitely for me is a winner. The one other thing I would add, I thought was a pleasant surprise when we got to the site before it opened to the public. I was pleasantly surprised that they had got rid of the drinks kiosk on the side of Hemman Hill, because I've always
one.
Yeah, because I always see that and see like the queues basically go into the hill. They go snake round into the walkway upwards, and it felt a little bit too chaotic. So I was pleasantly surprised they had removed that.
What about those poor people trying to get a Pimm's, Joel?
I know. Well, there are other places, but
true.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe it was intruding a little bit too much on the Hemman Hill.
So
experience.
no one can chant or have a Pimm's with you, Joel.
Well, actually, another pet peeve is when people call it Murray Mount, because for me it's always Hemman Hill. But I heard a few people calling it Murray Mount. I thought, not for me. Sorry.
Arthur's
that's a bit
Seat,
of an
I heard
Arthur's
as well.
Seat was new. I think that's quite clever, but I think it will always be Hemman Hill or.
It's not going to be Draper Downs, is it, anytime soon, unfortunately?
No. Yeah, Raducanu Ridge.
Raducanu Ridge. Sounds like you're on a cliff edge.
Do we need to do this for like every single Brit? Like
Raducanu Rolling Hills.
Basings Banks.
Yes. I like that.
Tarvit's Tumulus. Anyway. Final award is inspired by your experience in Coventry at the Rico Arena.
If you made it this far, listeners, we're very sorry.
A really delightful banana cheesecake, and that's for the best food item you consumed over the fortnight.
Well, Joel has to start this off because it is named after his original banana cheesecake in Coventry.
I know, an iconic delicacy that still lives in tennis.
The moment for
lore.
the podcast.
But if I was to narrow it to this championships and the favourite thing that I consumed, I'm going to have to go with a very tasty Sri Lankan chicken curry that I had one lunchtime.
It's very different to a cheesecake, Joel.
I know. It had the right amount of kick, and it was very delicious. Had it with some rice, and it was probably the best lunch meal I had. So I'm going the Sri Lankan chicken curry. It was true
to Sri Lanka.
Are we the new MasterChef lineup?
Yeah. Goodness, the detail this man went into.
I think mine was chicken and mushroom pie on day one, actually.
You were texting us about that pie.
Had it for dinner. I looked round and I saw that Annabelle Croft was behind me and she was having dinner. I thought,
you were pie sisters, yeah.
Okay. Well, I then looked around again. I thought, I bet she's having a salad or, she's like, slim. And I think, I just thought, I bet she's having something healthy and I'm eating this like pie of gravy and mash. But I looked around and she was having the pie as well. I thought, yes, get it.
Oh, yeah.
She's that made my day. Yeah.
Well, we did text you. We said, "Sorry, I can't do that. I'm having a pie." With Annabelle Croft, and we're fine. Obviously, that trumps everything.
Yeah. What was your highlight food wise then, Chris?
Well, because of the detail Joel just went into, I've actually looked up what it's called, but I think you can't go wrong with a Wimbledon sandwich. And I think for listeners, this bit of advice, get yourself a meal deal and you get a free tote bag, which actually retails for £10. The meal deal, I think, is something like, is it like
15.50, I think.
Exactly. But that's it, exactly. So in the meal deal, I'd recommend you get the farmhouse cheddar ploughmans with apricot cider chutney on malted bloomer, because that is my number one. I have it every day. It is the ultimate Wimbledon sandwich in my mind. And Kim doesn't like the sandwiches, don't think so. She won't be having it, but I will be.
I don't
She'll
like
be.
lettuce in a sandwich. Like
Well,
a
you're not going to like this one,
pre-packaged
but if you're a
sandwich.
sandwich lover,
Okay.
this is the one. I don't think any of them though are at banana cheesecake level.
No,
Do you think?
I still don't think I've reached the euphoria that I reached with the banana cheesecake
Joel
deep in
peaked
the
in
bowels
Coventry. Not many people have
of
said that.
Rico Arena.
I mean, that Balta Garcia match in Coventry was something else
That
as well,
was
I think. So
fantastic,
that
yes.
was many peak. I mean, yeah, that was peak podcast experience.
Wish we could go back sometime, guys.
Oh, I know. Well, listeners, if you've made it this far, do let us know whether you I don't know, agreed with. Have you had a Wimbledon sandwich? Do you like
Oh,
them?
what's
Did you
your
enjoy
favourite
it?
Wimbledon
Did you get a
sandwich?
tote bag? What would you eat at Wimbledon? What was your peak, pit, or pleasant surprise?
Do you
from
like the strawberry
championships?
beer?
Do let us know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let
did
us
you
know.
try a centre court cooler? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And we do have a final bit of business, don't we? And I'm going to go to Chris for this one.
Oh, goodness, this is the admin, my final piece of admin. We have the announcement for the Pure Light Wimbledon Bag, another Babolat competition. And the winner of that was from Instagram, and it's Gail Sargent. So we'll be in touch with you. Well done on winning. And you'll be able to walk around with your Wimbledon themed bag. You can even bring it next year to the championships.
Nice. Well done, Gail. Yeah, fabulous. We've had a few winners, various things. So we hope you all enjoy your prizes. And yeah, I mean, this is our final wrap up to the wrap up
final.
episode.
It's done,
Yeah.
guys. I mean, what an incredible championship for us. I think each year it gets bigger, it gets better. And we couldn't do that without, the listeners. Could we, Kim?
And our viewers, everyone watching on
Oh,
YouTube,
viewers, yes.
listening on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. Big thank you to everyone who has engaged with the show across the last couple of weeks. We absolutely wouldn't be here without all of your support. So thank you so much. And it's not long before we're back, because Chris, you are going to Bostar for the Nordea Open.
I
very
forgot about
soon.
that until you mentioned Badosa winning it. I thought I'm going to be there.
I didn't know there was was it a WTA?
Oh, it's a
is it
125. And
125.
I would love to go. I'd love to go, but it does clash with Wimbledon week 2. So I'm not sure I'm going
I
to make
thought that would have been a
decision.
higher priority for you, WTA 125.
I did look up a flight to go to watch Badosa Putintseva in the semi-finals, but
I've been half expecting to kind of walk in and sort of see you watching that on a phone.
I've tried to
screening,
get it on the
perhaps.
screens at Wimbledon. I can't. I went to the media cafe and said, put it up. They said, we can't do that.
Are you going to have a Bostar Bellini there, Chris? Is
Oh,
that their
I'll have to
drink,
report
maybe?
back. I
What
think
they've
it's.
got, yeah.
I wonder what it is actually. But you can't actually drink at sporting events in Sweden. So
Oh, really?
yeah, you have to be in a
okay.
bar. So I will try and find something to tell you, Kim. About
Possibly quite sensible. Bit Amelie Mauresmo.
yeah, Mauresmo in the French Open regime, indeed.
Well, we're going to wrap up our Wimbledon wrap-up episode here at Tennis Weekly HQ. We hope you've enjoyed the ride with us. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a moment of action as we head towards the North American hard courts and the US Open, the final major of the year. Very, very exciting. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and all your favorite podcasting platforms out there.
And if you love what you're hearing, then be sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube.
It really does make a big difference. We put a lot into the podcast over these last few weeks. So if you have enjoyed it, then please do, as Kim say, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, give us some engagement, and it would really, really help us. Kim already, she did give us a thumbs up there already, but you can also stay in contact with us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, X, and Threads. The handle for that is Tennis Weekly Pod. And our mailbag will be reopened, tennisweeklypod@gmail.com. You can tell us what your favorite sandwich is there as well, or visit our website, tennisweekly.co.uk.
And we will be back next week for our next tour catch up. But until then, it's goodbye from Kim.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Chris.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Tennis Weekly.